It was never my thinking that made the big money for me. It was always my sitting tight. That's what I said years ago, and I'll tell you now. Most traders never learn that lesson until the market takes everything back. I've watched men walk onto the trading floor with bright eyes and quick hearts, believing they were born for this game. And you know what? Many of them win right out of the gate. Their first few trades turn a profit. They think they've found the secret formula, that they've cracked the code of the market. But what they don't realize is that the market loves to reward ignorance before it punishes arrogance. It's her way of introducing herself. She gives a man a taste of success so that when she takes it back, she takes everything that came with it. His money, his confidence, his patience, his reason. That first win is dangerous because it breeds a kind of confidence that isn't earned. You see, when a man wins before he's learned how to lose, he starts to believe he can't lose. That's when the trouble begins. He stops listening to the tape. He stops watching the market. He starts listening to himself. The market becomes a stage for his ego, not his education. And the market has no patience for egos. It crushes them flat every time. A trader who wins early often mistakes luck for skill. He thinks that because he caught one wave, he knows how to command the sea. He starts increasing his position size. He stops taking notes. He stops asking questions. The discipline that might have saved him later never has a chance to grow, because early success convinces him he doesn't need it. That's the cruelest trick the market ever plays, making a man feel invincible before he's even learned the rules of survival. In my own life, I've seen it and lived it. I made and lost fortunes because I was young and thought the market moved for me. When you win too easily at the start, you begin to think the game is simple. You forget that every tick on that tape represents the fear and greed of thousands of men, and those forces are older and stronger than you'll ever be. The market doesn't care about your opinions or your theories. It only responds to pressure, to demand and supply, to emotion, never to ego. When a man's first trades succeed, he feels chosen. He thinks he's found a hidden rhythm the rest of the crowd can't hear. He believes he's different. But the market doesn't have favorites. The moment you believe it does, you've already lost. Because what follows early success isn't more success, it's temptation. Temptation to trade more, to risk more, to push your luck further. And the market always lets you hang yourself with the very rope you thought would pull you higher. I remember the first time I made real money. It came easy, too easy, and that was the beginning of my hardest lesson. The next few trades went against me, and instead of cutting my losses, I held on. I told myself the market was wrong, that it would turn in my favor. It didn't. The market doesn't apologize, it doesn't negotiate, and it doesn't forgive. It teaches by taking. Every dollar I lost was tuition. Every mistake was a line in the book I was writing in my head, the book of how not to trade. Most traders never recover from their first big loss, and that's because they never respected their first big win. The win was supposed to teach them possibility. Instead, it taught them arrogance. That's why I say early success is more dangerous than failure. It fills your head when it should be empty. You can't learn when you think you already know. And in this business, thinking you know is the fastest way to find out you don't. The market gives you that first win to see what you'll do with it. The wise man studies it, dissects it, asks himself whether he was right for the right reasons or just lucky. The fool celebrates it, tells himself he's found the touch of Midas. The wise man builds discipline. The fool builds castles in the air. And when the wind shifts, the wise man is still standing, while the fool is searching the ruins of his own confidence. So when I see a young trader smiling after his first profit, I don't envy him. I pity him a little. Because I know what's coming. The market will take that smile and turn it into a grimace. She'll make him pay back every easy dollar with interest. Only after that does a trader begin to understand what kind of game he's really in. Only after that first fall does he learn that winning isn't proof of wisdom. It's the first test of humility. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, emotion is the enemy of the trader. The market doesn't move on logic, it moves on fear and greed. And if you let those same emotions live inside you, then you're no better than the crowd you're trying to profit from. The first rule in speculation is to see things as they are, not as you wish them to be. The moment a man lets hope or fear guide his trades, he's already lost the fight, not to the market, but to himself. I've seen strong men, bankers, brokers, scholars, all fall the same way. They let their feelings take the driver's seat. A man buys a stock, and it rises. He feels smart, powerful, almost prophetic. That's greed talking. The next trade, he risks more. He doesn't see the danger because greed has blinded him. Then the market turns and fear takes over. Fear whispers, hold on, it'll come back. But the market doesn't care what he hopes. It just keeps doing what it does, grinding his pride into dust while he sits frozen, praying for a miracle that never comes. The two emotions, fear and greed, are the twin thieves of every trader's fortune. They work together like a pair of pickpockets. Greed gets your attention, and fear cleans out your pockets. Every successful trader has to learn to control them, or at least keep them on a short leash. That's what separates the professionals from the amateurs. Not intelligence, not strategy, but emotional discipline. When I was younger, I thought I could outthink my emotions. I told myself I was rational, that the numbers would guide me. But when the ticker started flashing red and my money was on the line, all the logic in the world couldn't quiet my heart. My pulse raced, my palms sweat, my mind started inventing reasons to justify holding on. I was no longer trading the market. I was trading my own fear. And fear is the worst trading partner a man can have. It doesn't negotiate, it doesn't plan, it just panics. That's why I learned one of my hardest lessons: a trader's worst enemy isn't the market. It's the man in the mirror. The market doesn't know you exist. It's not plotting against you. It's just a mirror of collective emotion. And if you don't master your own, you'll get swept up in everyone else's. Every great loss I ever took started as a small one that I refused to take. I'd tell myself, it'll bounce back. It has too. But the market doesn't have to do anything. That's hope talking. And hope in this business is poison. A man hopes when he should fear and fears when he should hope. He cuts his profits short because he's afraid they'll vanish. And he lets his losses run because he's hoping they'll turn around. That's how emotion flips the script. It makes you do the exact opposite of what you should. When the market's roaring and everyone's making money, greed tells you that you're missing out. You jump in too late, and that's when the top forms. When the market's crashing and panic fills the air, fear tells you to sell everything at the bottom. And that's when the rebound begins. The crowd always moves at the wrong time because emotion always moves first, and intelligence comes second. To win in the market, you must learn to think opposite your emotions. When you feel most certain, you should be most cautious. When you feel most afraid, you should be most observant. But to do that, you need discipline, real, hard-earned discipline that only comes from pain. Because pain is the only teacher that can strip emotion from a man's trading habits. I remember once holding a position that had gone against me. My broker kept calling, asking what I wanted to do. Every call was a reminder of my mistake. Every tick down would a sting to my pride. Finally, I sold. The loss was large, but the relief was larger. I learned that day that the pain of taking a small loss is nothing compared to the pain of letting hope destroy you. From then on, I made a rule: I never argue with the tape. The tape tells the truth, even when I don't want to hear it. So when I tell young traders that emotion is their enemy, I'm not quoting philosophy. I'm speaking from scars. The market doesn't care about your feelings, your needs, or your dreams. It only responds to action. You must train yourself to act without emotion, to see losses as tuition, not tragedy, to see profits as results, not rewards. Remember this: the market is designed to fool most of the people most of the time. And the reason it succeeds is because most people trade their emotions instead of their plan. If you can conquer that, if you can remain calm when others are greedy and patient when others are panicking, then you'll have done what few ever can. You'll have beaten the real opponent, yourself. Men are always trying to predict the market. They want to know where it's going tomorrow, next week, next month. They think if they could just see one step ahead, they'd be rich beyond measure. But I've lived my life in this business, and I'll tell you the truth. Prediction's the favorite illusion of the undisciplined trader. The market doesn't pay men for guessing right. It pays them for acting right, and there's a world of difference between the two. Every beginner wants to be a prophet. They study the charts, listen to the news, read opinions, and then they predict. They want to the man who calls the top or the bottom, who tells the crowd what comes next. But the best traders, the ones who last, don't waste time trying to predict what will happen. They prepare for whatever might happen. That's the difference. One trades on hope, the other on discipline. Discipline means you have a plan before you ever place a trade. You know what price will make you buy, what price will make you sell, and what price will make you admit you were wrong. The market doesn't punish you for being wrong. It punishes you for staying wrong. That's why I say, a trader who can take a loss without emotion is a professional. A man who can't is finished. In my early days, I wanted to outsmart the market. I thought if I studied it long enough, I could predict its every move. I spent nights poring over the tape, looking for patterns, for secrets. And yes, sometimes I guessed right, but only by chance. The real profits came not from the guesses that worked, but from the trades I managed with discipline. I learned that the market doesn't reward intelligence, it rewards self-control. A disciplined trader doesn't need to know what will happen. He only needs to know what he will do when it happens. That's what saves him. Because the truth is, no one, not me, not you, not any man alive, can predict tomorrow's tape. But discipline allows you to survive all tomorrows, no matter what they bring. Most traders lose because they trade their opinions instead of their rules. They say, "I think the market should go up." But the market doesn't care what you think it should do. It will go where it wants when it wants, and for reasons that don't make sense until long after it's too late. Discipline means you accept that. You stop trying to be right and start trying to be consistent. When I made my biggest fortunes, it wasn't because I guessed right. It was because I had the discipline to wait, to sit tight. The big money, as I've said before, is not in the buying or the selling, it's in the waiting. Discipline is what lets you wait when the rest of the market is losing its mind. The amateurs are always doing something, the professionals are often just sitting. The hardest thing in speculation is not to act. The mind always wants to predict, to intervene, to feel in control. But control doesn't come from prediction, it comes from preparation. The man with discipline can watch the market go wild and never lose his nerve because he's not reacting, he's executing a plan. Once I watched a man make a fortune in one trade. He doubled his account in a few days. He thought he had a gift. So he went right back in, heavier this time. The market turned, and he lost it all. He didn't lose because he was wrong about the market. He lost because he couldn't control himself. He had no rules, no stops, no patience. Just pride. Pride kills more traders than bad advice ever will. Discipline is what saves you when pride would destroy you. It's the difference between gambling and speculation. The gambler relies on luck, the speculator relies on rules. A disciplined trader knows when not to trade. He knows that cash is a position. He knows that missing a trade is better than forcing one. He knows that the market will always be there tomorrow. But his capital might not be if he doesn't guard it today. I've learned that predicting the market is like trying to predict the wind. A fool's game. But discipline is like setting your sail. You can't command the wind, but you can control your ship. The undisciplined man drifts and drowns. The disciplined man waits for the right breeze and rides it to shore. So remember this, the market rewards patience, not prophecy. Your goal isn't to know what happens next, it's to be ready for it. You can't control the market, but you can control yourself. And that, my friend, is the only prediction that ever pays. A man doesn't go broke because the market beats him. He goes broke because he breaks himself. Every trader who's been in the game long enough learns this truth: the market isn't your enemy. Your lack of discipline is. You can survive bad luck, bad timing, even bad trades, but you can't survive breaking your own rules. That's the one mistake the market never forgives. I've said it before. The market doesn't care who you are, how smart you think you are, or how much you made last month. The moment you stop following your own plan, you've handed the market your head on a silver platter. It's not the loss that ruins you. It's the betrayal of your own principles. Because once you do it once, you'll do it again. The first time you ignore your stop loss, it hurts. The second time, you justify it. The third time, it's a habit, and habits in this game can bury you alive. I learned this lesson the hard way, as most traders do. I had a set of rules that had made me millions. Simple rules. Cut losses quickly. Never average down. Let profits run. And never trade on tips. They weren't fancy, but they worked because they kept me honest. But I was human, and pride is a dangerous companion in the market. One day, I broke one of my own rules. I told myself the market was wrong, that I was smarter than my own system. The loss that followed wasn't just financial, it was personal. Because I knew I hadn't lost to the market, I'd lost to my own weakness. You see, your rules are your lifeline. They keep you steady when the market turns wild. They remind you who you are when greed and fear start shouting in your ear. But most traders treat rules like suggestions, fine when they're convenient, optional when they're not. That's why most traders fail. They can make rules, but they can't live by them. When things go well, they grow confident, and confidence turns to arrogance. They start to believe the rules don't apply anymore. They loosen their stops. They hold losing trades. They add to positions that should have been closed. They tell themselves they'll get out tomorrow. But tomorrow never comes for that kind of trader. Because the market has a way of humbling every man who thinks he's above his own discipline. Every rule I ever made came from a scar. Every line in my trading code was written in loss. When I say, never average down, it's because I've done it, and I've paid for it. When I say, always cut losses, it's because I've watched small losses grow into disasters while I sat there hoping. Hope has no place in this business. Discipline does. Rules do. Hope is a dreamer's luxury. Rules are a trader's survival. A man who follows his rules may take small losses, but he'll live to trade another day. A man who breaks them may win a few times. But sooner or later, the market will find his weakness and exploit it. And the market always finds it. It's patient like that. It waits for your guard to drop. One slip, one moment of pride, and it takes back everything it ever gave you, with interest. That's why I say failure in trading doesn't come from being wrong. It comes from staying wrong. And you stay wrong the moment you refuse to follow your own plan. The moment you start making excuses instead of decisions. The moment you listen to your emotions instead of your rules. I've seen men blow up fortunes because they couldn't admit they were wrong. They'd rather defend their pride than protect their capital. They'd rather be right than be rich. And the market punishes that kind of thinking without mercy. The only defense a trader has is his discipline. Your rules are your armor. Every time you break one, you put a crack in that armor. And the market, it doesn't need much. Just one crack, one lapse, one mistake, and you're finished. I've made and lost fortunes in my life, but I've learned that the biggest loss isn't the money. It's the loss of control. The moment you break your own rules, you're no longer a trader, you're a gambler. And gamblers always end the same way. So remember this, you can't control the market, but you can control yourself. You can't predict what the next trade will do, but you can decide how you'll respond. The market will test you every day. It will tempt you, provoke you, scare you. Your only protection is your discipline. Because at the end of the day, it's not the market that destroys traders. It's the trader who destroys himself, one broken rule at a time. The market is the greatest teacher a man will ever have, and the most expensive. It doesn't hand out degrees or applause. It gives lessons in silence, one trade at a time. You don't graduate from the market. You never arrive. You just keep learning, or you get left behind. Every rise, every crash, every mistake. They're all part of the same endless classroom. The market doesn't stop teaching, but most traders stop listening. When I was young, I thought the market was something to conquer, a puzzle I could solve if I was clever enough. I believed that if I studied it long enough, I could master it. But mastery doesn't exist in this game. There are no experts, only students. The moment a trader believes he's learned it all, the market gives him an exam he can't pass. That's how she humbles the proud and disciplines the careless. You see, the market repeats itself because people never change. The faces on the trading floor may be new, the tools may be faster, the headlines may be different. But the emotions are the same. Fear, greed, hope, panic, they're as old as speculation itself. That's why I said, there is nothing new on Wall Street. Whatever happens today has happened before and will happen again. The only variable is the trader who forgets that truth. The market teaches through loss. Every dollar you lose is a piece of tuition paid for an education you can't get anywhere else. And the price is worth it if you learn the lesson. But most traders don't. They repeat the same mistakes, expecting a different outcome. They let pride silence the lessons the market is trying to teach. The man who refuses to learn is doomed to keep paying the same tuition, until the market finally takes everything he has to give. I've learned that the market speaks softly, but it always speaks. It tells you when you're wrong, if you're willing to listen. It tells you when to get out, when to wait, when to sit tight. But most traders are too loud in their own heads to hear it. They're busy arguing with the tape, explaining to themselves why they're right. The market doesn't listen to explanations. It deals in outcomes. When the market takes from you, it's not punishment. It's instruction. Every loss shows you something about yourself. Your patience, your pride, your fear, your greed. Most men think they're trading against the market, but they're really trading against their own weaknesses. The market just exposes them. That's why I say the market is an eternal teacher. Because it teaches you who you are. It strips away every illusion, every excuse, every pretense. You can't hide from yourself in the market. It will show you whether you can stay calm when everyone else panics, whether you can hold your winners without fear, whether you can cut your losers without hesitation. And if you can't, the market will remind you, repeatedly, until you learn. I've seen fortunes built and lost, but I've never seen a man who learned all there was to know. Every new bull run teaches overconfidence. Every crash teaches humility. Every recovery teaches patience. And every mistake teaches that survival, not brilliance, is the goal. The trader who lasts is the one who never stops studying. In my later years, I came to see the market not as an enemy, but as a mirror that reflects truth in its purest form. If you're greedy, it will show it. If you're fearful, it will reveal it. If you're disciplined, it will reward it. You can't lie to the market. You can only lie to yourself, and the market will expose that lie faster than anything else in life. So, if you want to stay in this game, learn to respect the market as a teacher. Observe it. But more importantly, study yourself through it. Every trade, win or lose, tells you something about your nature. The moment you stop learning, you start losing. The market is eternal, and so are its lessons. Prices rise and fall, men come and go, systems change, but the rules never do. And the first rule is this: the market always wins the argument. The second is, you never stop learning. The day you think you've mastered the market is the day the market teaches you how wrong you are. So stay humble, stay alert, stay a student, because in this game the lessons never end. And the tuition never stops, the market doesn't beat you. You beat yourself by breaking your own rules. So remember my words, there is nothing new on Wall Street. There can't be, because speculation is as old as the hills. Whatever happens in the market today has happened before and will happen again. The first win is a test. The real question is, will you survive the lesson that follows?